Buildertrend is the construction software that promises to simplify running your business. Yet it's such a large platform with so many levels of complexity that it can sometimes lead you to feel quite the opposite. It's easy to get lost, overwhelmed, and frustrated, often leading you to say, stuff it.
So I was probably like most builders we see, which is, hey, there's this platform, it's called Buildertrend, go and work it out. So that's where I sort of went, I need 600 hours to solve this.
On this episode, we sit down with Jordan and Scotty from Aspire Projects, who are on a mission to enable Aussie builders to confidently and proficiently use Buildertrend, no longer underutilizing this game-changing app. Scott, Jordan, thank you so much for coming in. Really been looking forward to this for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, incredibly what you guys do, helping builders use Buildertrend very, very well. I know it would be no surprise to you guys, but I know we hear it a lot when that topic of what project management software, construction software you guys using. Often builders will say, oh, that's, I tried that, and it can be any software, but Buildertrend, BuildExact, things like that come up. And like any of those softwares, I tried that, didn't work, or it's this or it's that. And then talking to some of the builders that I know we have in common, they love the software. And they seem to have loved it more after working with you guys. So
Sure.
I want to get you guys on here to talk a bit about that.
Sure.
But to jump in, I think what would be really important to go through would be a bit of the background. So what you guys were doing before Aspire and what brought it all together to begin. Maybe Jordan, you want to...
Yeah, for sure. So I've got a background in corporate operations management. So really getting into the detail of systems and processes, leadership in really big groups. So worked with businesses doing 50 to 60 million a year, running those businesses, leading teams of up to 180 people, 180 team members with like 11 to 15 direct reports depending. And really looking at all of the systems and processes that are in those businesses, how they work, why they work, and what that means to each of those team members that are inside of that business. So I've done that for a long time, come from a background of psychology and human resource management, into that role of operations management, team building and that sort of thing. And then, met Scotty Braithwaite at a pivotal moment in my life, and started really looking into the construction game for myself and how that, I guess, layer of operations management, systemizing, looking at processes and implementation in the construction industry could help builders. And Scott put a problem to me that we wanted to solve together after talking for a little bit. But I want to hear more about Scott to start with.
Yeah, for sure. Like my background is more heavily based in construction, best part of a decade, been in PM roles on the ground, doing all sorts of things in the realm of construction. But Jordan and I crossed paths about a year and a half ago, and that's when Aspire Projects was born. So specifically, the Buildertrend problem. So why is Buildertrend not being used like it should be?
Okay.
So we stood back and said, there's a problem here. There's a problem of the why around Buildertrend, not the how. I mean, for all of its small faults, there's a lot of things that work on the platform. So that's where we went.
How are you exposed to that? Because I know in your roles previous as PMs with builders and that, you were using the software.
Sure.
And you were using it well.
Sure.
And winning with it?
I wouldn't say I was using it well.
Okay.
So I was probably typically like most builders we see, which is, hey, there's this platform, it's called Buildertrend.
Yeah.
Go and work it out.
Right.
And so I was the guy on the ground, pushing it uphill with the suppliers, pushing it uphill with the team, doing little bits and pieces for the builder I was working for at the time.
Yeah.
And just never being able to pull it together in its full. I knew I had it in my mind, and that's where I think it was planted for me, that this thing is bigger than just its sum of its parts. Yeah. It's discussing like the why we do each step of it. Okay. And I know that sounds a little bit like airy, but really each part of it, like the time clock, it works, you know, the daily log, it works. But why are you using it? Why are you using the schedule, and how does that inform how your process is doing well or not doing well? So that's where I sort of went, I need 600 hours to solve this. And that's why I met Geordie.
Yeah.
Because Geordie, you know, together we do say a lot that when we form the company, 100% over here, 100% over here, but together we're something like 300%.
Yeah.
So we're able to really
That
do
math makes
that
sense to me.
deep dive. Yeah, that does make sense.
In business, it does, though.
Big time.
For
Oh, for sure. It's like, I mean, you guys probably see it a lot. The guys who are, well, we go right down the end of that spectrum, one-man bands.
Yep.
You know, they're wearing all the hats. And then as soon as they get someone, let's say, well, often it's some sort of on-site supervisor role filled, or some sort of administration role. Yeah, it's not just a little bit of an increase; it's a lot.
Yeah, or an equal, a partnership, or
Yeah.
two equal directors in that building component, and you see those two builders have ideas that bounce off each other, different personalities, different skill sets. That just empower them as well.
Yeah,
but one of the things that Scott mentioned at the start of our journey was while he was in that process of being thrown in the deep end, learn Buildertrend, go and do it, he had the problem of building houses at the same time. Which is
that's
where
a massive one.
Yeah, which is where all of the builders are at. They are out there building absolutely gorgeous homes, and sometimes they don't have the time or they don't have the energy to spend 1,000 hours on a platform trying to figure it out when they've got their livelihood on the line as well.
Yeah,
So that was part of the problem.
The building houses is just it's an urgency. It's important, but it's more urgency. You've got deadlines. You've got bills to pay. You've got I guess naturally your tendency then is to just get that done.
For sure.
I'll get
Solve
to
the problems in front of you.
Yeah. What are some of the typical things you see with guys using Buildertrend and facing the problems, and what are those struggles?
Cool. So just off the back of that, it allowed us to do that 5, 6, 7, I reckon about 1,000 hours of workshopping to be, this is the account and this is what we're going to find. So when we ask the question, what the problems you're having, we had to see them in real time as well as we developed the business. So a lot of the pain points were a lot further up the food chain than builders were thinking they were at.
Yes.
So why does my budget not make sense?
Yeah.
Was the most typical.
Oh, such a pain point. I don't think that we've encountered an account on Buildertrend when we're linked to them, linked to our clients who are the builders, that has completely made sense, or they can make sense of every single part of their financials. Right. Such a big component of building in general. And look, these guys get told things from experts in their own fields. Yeah. So the first step of that process is usually accountants. Yeah. And accountants want you to build according to accounting terms. Yeah. So we see builders talking about their chart of accounts or talking about how they're like all the terminology that their accountant uses. And then they have to match that to their process of building or match that to how an estimator is talking or what goes on the ground. So if you ask them point blank how their budgets align or what feeds in and out, what levers to pull when things are going well or when things are going not so well, I can't wait to meet the builder that has the exact clear answer of that as well. So that's one of the challenges that we see.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so budgets and finance and realising that it's to do with your cost code realm, I suppose. There's a cost code exercise in there where you're actually breaking these things down and understanding why something gets used. A cost code on Buildertrend is used on every aspect from your budgets through to your estimations through to your bill entries. Everything. So solving at one place, like Jordan's described for the accountant piece, for the tax piece, is one piece of the puzzle. We work very closely with lots of accountants and lots of bookkeepers to actually try and line that step up because we want them to be satisfying their tax realm as well as focusing on their project management system, which is I suppose the front of house, the first place it goes in terms of understanding your system. So that's our perspective at least.
I think that most commonly we see that builders jump on and they can look at components of the project management side of the platform and use it, of Buildertrend, and use it because there's things that you can touch and feel that are simple to get your hooks into, and builders take that and run a little bit sometimes, and that whilst building houses, whilst focusing on their sales, whilst focusing on their marketing, whilst building their team, losing a supervisor, bringing on a new supervisor, working in different areas, that might seem like the project management software that all my mates or all my builders have told me to go and get, Buildertrend, is working for me now. So I've nailed a couple of the little things at the start, but then generally when builders come to us or talk with us, we start asking, have they used or have they expanded that view that was solely focused on the couple of things that they could manage and they could tackle, and the rest of it was too hard basket.
Right.
We don't have enough time to figure that out. Yeah. Or where were you guys 12 months ago when we should have figured that out, when we did cross-platform into a couple of different softwares to try and solve the one problem that could have been solved on Buildertrend at the start.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's I think a big one you mentioned there, that not all builders are going to use Buildertrend the same. No two builders, no two accountants the same. I mean, we see that from our side is like, from a story perspective, no two builders the same.
Yeah.
So that's, crazy then to hear it in that space, which as an outsider, I would have thought, right, if you're dealing with residential custom home builders, there would be a way that you just plug them into Buildertrend. But it's not that simple.
To just riff on that, JP, it's the custom element.
Yes.
Like effectively the platform provides you with the bones. And anyone that's even fired up a Buildertrend account before, you get a small amount of templates, very tiny. You get a small, and then you get the prospect of, you can customize this. And that's where it falls over because we're now attached to 50 plus accounts and we see the back end, the maneuverings, even their subscription levels, their tax levels, everything like that. None of them are the same. So what it means is that at some point people were taking a route to go, I'm going to solve that problem like Jordan was describing, but I'm going to neglect the other 5 problems up the food chain a bit further. Okay. So
how does I know you briefly discussed this outside the podcast earlier. What's something that you guys do and put in place when before you even start working with someone? I know it was pretty powerful. You mentioned it. So that you don't have that problem. So you're not dealing with that problem in isolation and that problem in isolation. How do you guys get around that? Because that could take, it'd be never ending solving that way.
Yeah. So admittedly, we did the dip in, dip out version.
Okay.
So we started the dip in, dip out where builders could book us for a certain amount of time and just do a little bit of pieces, bits and pieces here. Yeah. We pulled the ripcord on that not too long ago and said, we're not getting as far as we know we can with builders on the platform. Okay. So what we decided is we talk more about our products, but there's 2 implementation offerings that we now do that does a deep surgery on your account and overhaul of your account. Yeah. So to reference back to what we were discussing, we do a macro session that says, how are you dealing with this now and how do you want to deal with it? And then because we've got that demonstration account in Buildertrend, we will show our builders where they could be going on that without even pushing any levers on their own account. Okay. So do you want to go a bit further on that, Jordan?
Yeah, and I would say just going back to the point you made before, no two builders the same, right? Yeah. So coming onto Buildertrend, it could be easy to think to yourself, why can't somebody else just download all of their files onto my platform, for example?
Well, it worked for my friend and he also does...
Yeah, we'll just take all of his processes. That'd be cheaper than doing whatever and finding what works for my business. But if you ask yourself, is every single house built the same? Is every single interaction with a subcontractor or a vendor, with a client the same, with your supervisor, with your team on the ground? Is every building business the exact same? And the answer is no two businesses are the same in Australia or probably the world, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You'd find similarities, but you would not find exact same processes.
It's crazy how much that resonates because often I try to help guys understand when they're like, well, how are you going to make me look different?
Yep.
And I'm like, man, let's say Scott, you're the builder, and Jack and Sally are out there. The marketing should make them want to build with you, Scott.
Yeah.
And they need to understand and appreciate that they cannot build with Scott anywhere else.
Yep.
They have to come here. And that interaction with you guys is so unique that resonates
it's
big
good.
time.
And to call a couple out, cost plus contracts,
Yeah.
fixed price contracts,
Yeah.
GST inclusive, GST exclusive. These are the types of things that we go, well, any number of those combinations or a mixed contract base or you're an
Architects
MBA user,
involved, subcontractors getting on the platform or
man.
not being on the platform.
automatically
like-
you've got
can of worms existing.
How you do your
Yeah.
bids and tenders process, at what point you engage an estimator, how you get that on the platform, how you use that information. Do you actually use that as a goalpost, or do you use that in how you organize purchase orders?
Yeah.
If you're not using purchase orders, your site supervisor's wasting time every day calling up the shop and ordering stuff every single day. We talk about in that macro session, we ask these questions, and those are usually the aha moments right at the start to go, far out. Why have we not thought about this? We've been building for 15 years, but we don't actually have a process from when it lifts off from a bill of quantities or an estimation to actually getting materials on site. We don't have checks and processes to see how that gets delivered, why, when, and who it gets delivered to, those types of things. So that's that macro session right at the start.
Yeah, that's so important. Another example you used earlier, it's like if you get 100 sticks delivered to site and no plans, definitely. That's like, I mean, we use the example like if someone just dumps a bunch of photos in your Dropbox, and they go for it, market them. You know, what?
Go hard.
Go hard. Yeah.
You need a plan, and you need somebody to guide you through that deep dark realm that is how you build in your business from start to finish. Because once you've got it, you can replicate it, and then your team can follow that, and they can have confidence in you as the builder and the leader of your business to go, right, they know what they're doing. They've been doing this for 15 years. I've stepped into this business. Everyone knows their place within the business, and this is how it works here. And we're just going to build gorgeous homes time after time.
That's a big one there. Everyone knowing their roles. And that comes down to that foundation. Are we all on the same track? Are we all going for the same goal here?
Part of that macro session, JP, is deciding where the scope starts and stops. So we work with teams that are 2-man bands, 1-man bands even, right up to departments of 6 people on each team. So the same principle still applies. Who's doing what, and how do you hand it to the next person or team?
Definitely.
So the roles and responsibilities exercise without getting too corporate on it, because we also live in the realistic world of like, these things have just got to get done right. We document how that would go through, and so we help builders see where it's coming unstuck, whether they started the project right with the right settings on that particular project, whether it's been handed over from the pre-construction phase through to the we're turning soil next week stage. All those little indicators and saying this is where your role stops and starts. We've got fun names for, the Bill's Emperor or the Bill's Empress, like those key pivotal people in businesses that put every single invoice through the system. And so working with that, the customization piece is pretty important.
Every builder has a different idea of what is a site supervisor, what's a leading hand, what's a project manager, what's a director, what's an admin person, what's an accountant, what's a bookkeeper. I swear every single builder has a different understanding of all of those roles. So we sit there and ask, what's a site supervisor to you? And they go, well, they're building the schedule, they're pulling in the estimation, they're building all the purchase orders and that sort of thing. And to another builder, that might look like project management. But to that builder, that's no, he does that and he's on site. So nailing that and going, where's the handoff between yourself and the sale or the warm lead or however that's going to work in your business to an estimator, to the platform, to how it's all documented. So that it can run smoothly. And if you ask yourself those questions and you don't have a process for it, then it sounds like you do need a process for it.
And to ground that on an exercise that we do with every builder, we dive into something called the schedule matrix. So there's a schedule feature on Buildertrend. They give you 3 or 4 little schedule items and they go, this will work. There's so many layers to a schedule. So for one builder, and I've got one in mind that has a very intricate 1,200 line item. This is how you build a house. You can hand it to a blind site supervisor and say, this is how you do it. For another group, that's too detailed. Their team needs to be in and out a lot quicker, and they've only got stage checklists or stage quality assurance checks. So doing the schedule exercise to say, well, in our area, we only have to give the guys in Windows 5 weeks. For other custom groups, it's 3 months. Okay. So we are able to shape the schedule exercise to say, what do you want to achieve out of here? It's not just that's the day the plumber's rocking up. It's have they been engaged? Are the fittings on site? And what's the process after the plumber's been to make sure that there's a quality assurance check? So all those, certification reports at the end where you're looking for, the schedule exercises says this is where we're all going to capture it in one location. So once we're up and running on the project, it becomes a very powerful tool.
So the worst thing that we hear is from builders at the start, they've got a schedule in there and it might have a mixture of events and tasks and lists and things like that, all in this one Gantt chart that has their brain dump. Just bang, all the photos in the Dropbox folder, the same thing, go and use it, right? And they've built these homes for 15 years and they're throwing that out to their project manager or site supervisor who goes, what am I meant to do with all this information, right? So it's all about finding what lives where, why it lives where, and that person having an understanding of why it's there and how to use it.
The why. That's a big thing, I think, for any business. If the people in the business can understand the why, then they can make far more better, educated, informed, autonomous decisions, and allows you to begin to take that hat off.
Yeah.
A lot of builders feel like they attract the wrong clientele that only focus on price. They never seem to get the projects that they are truly passionate about and that are also profitable. Builders love working with us because we help them create an emotional connection with their ideal clients through the power of story and help them build long-term trust through their marketing system. If you're a builder and if you feel like you need help, book in a story strategy session with our team by visiting builderstorymarketing.com. Now back to this episode.
What's the next thing? I mean, I'm trying to absorb all this. What's the next sort of thing you start to see with builders? So what are some of the common false beliefs that you see in builders that you have to often educate them to get them to understand, okay, this isn't a solution that I shouldn't just abandon? What are some of I know we're joking about them outside, like it's too hard, doesn't work for me. It's only for volume guys, or it's only for boutique guys, or it's too expensive. I know you guys hear that a lot, but often it just comes down to lack of education.
I think cost hits everybody in the same area. It's close to home. We're building houses and we need to, the purpose of that is to build lovely houses and to make a profit out of that. We're all businessmen. All of the components of the building industry are businessmen at the end of the day, so they have to make their profit. And to give some of that away for a software that they don't even get to touch and feel most of the time, and all just lives online and that sort of stuff, it can seem like it's not worth it. It's too hard. Why would I pay to develop something that might change or move or things like that? And the question, and that might be the false belief of saying, why would we need that when at the end of the day, we're just going to build the house the same way? And everyone kind of knows what they're doing, don't they, guys? But when you start growing, or when you start building architecturally designed homes, or when you start growing your volume business or moving into commercial or whatever that might look like, or if you just want to take a holiday, what happens then, guys? Because if you've just got this...
it's all in your head.
If you've just got this business with everything in your head and you're the go-to for absolutely everything, then when you take yourself out of the equation for more than 2 minutes, what happens then? So when we look at business builders with false beliefs around project management software, it's like, what's the cheapest one that we can get, guys? Because that just sounds too bloody expensive.
Don't they all just do the same thing?
Exactly right. They all just do the same thing. We can use this, we can use this. And analyzing so many different project management softwares, we look at Buildertrend and we say it can achieve most of what you're looking at. It's not perfect, and we won't apologize on their behalf because we also don't own the product. But we know that we can get 85% of your systems and processes onto Buildertrend and see where everybody's wearing their hats from there. But
I was just going to say, like, it's one of the biggest motivators. We see builders go, I know it's in my head. I call it like shaking the apple tree, right? Like shaking all that information onto a page and into a system. And the reason why we're big fans of Buildertrend is you can have that Not just like here's your 15-page standard operating procedures document. No builder's going to touch it.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be running for the hills. But if you go, here's 5 checklists that you need to do, and they've got a date reminder for you, and they're just bang, bang, bang. You need to be there, and you click them, and they go green for you, and you tell the rest of the team at the same time. That's what we're going to focus on. So using the tool, like the functional tool, to be cool. That's good theory in the background, guys. And even like builders need to know, like right up the chain, even guys that are doing $45-50 million portfolios in the project sphere, they don't have procedures as much as people think they do.
Yeah.
So writing the steps and getting through it and say, this is how you start a job properly on Buildertrend is why we have a company.
And to ask yourself in the end, how much does it cost every time as the director or multiple directors? How much does it cost you every time you answer the phone for a stupid question that could have been answered with a process that sorts it out right at the start? So when you talk about a project management software and you look at the price and you're weighing things up, ask yourself how many times you get bothered, or how many times your team has to ask a question about the where, the what, the why, the when. And then look at the efficiency of having a system process that is smooth from start to finish, so that your build literally can build itself in the background and you get asked the things that you need to as a director or as a building manager, as a construction manager, as a project manager.
Yeah. And as specialists on the platform, we know where it does come unstuck. That's an important thing to say.
Yeah.
To say, we're not sitting here and say Buildertrend is perfect.
Yeah.
It's not. But for every place that it's not for your business, Aspire Projects is able to build customized approaches to getting and navigating those certain areas.
Getting to the
just
the
getting to
goal.
that endpoint. But it comes from knowing what your endpoint is.
Yeah.
Where
Exactly
your priorities
right.
are.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly
like
right.
doing that schedule piece and doing the priorities are like, well, I don't care about quality assurance checklist before we throw sheets. Well, hang on a sec. The reason why you're getting 4 phone calls from the client is because all your bathroom fittings are in the wrong position enough. You've knocked out the wrong, whatever the example is, right? There's a million of them. But if you sort of do that typical where I want to be, Buildertrend, we've just seen time and time again, the concept of the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump over to Procore or
Change
Nextsphere
softwares.
or there's so many platforms.
Yeah.
Or Build Exact for this or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
The problem doesn't go away. I'll just say that straight up.
Or
That's a big
why
one to
come
understand.
across as well. I think that's a question that we get a lot.
That's what I want to jump into, because I definitely want to jump into the impact that once this is set up well is having, because that's been epic, and we've got some clients that are having great wins with it. One guy in particular, I spoke to him just yesterday, just had a catch up, and he was like, I just spent the whole weekend doing motorbiking. You know what I mean? Not chasing this or doing this or fixing that or putting this in place or but what I want to jump into is that thing you just raised there, which is this false belief, I would call it, or maybe just the sights set on the wrong thing of it's just too big for me to change now. We're too far down the track to we've got this software, that software, we use WhatsApp, we use that, you know what I mean? Like to uproot my whole team, all my trades, it just seems impossible. Yeah. How do you even begin that conversation?
Have you ever heard that change is easy? No. Does that come in? Does that come in any business, right?
No,
when you change absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I think the start of that conversation is asking where you want to be, not being stuck in the mud with where you're at. If you're honestly sitting in front of your computer, your phone, sitting in front of your team, and everyone's on more than a couple softwares, what's the chance of your team getting it right? When they have to log into 5 separate things, different touch points, there's information spread across everything. What are your chances of getting it right? So even if you're coming across from a single software to Buildertrend or trying to make that decision in your business, you have to weigh up everything inside that. Change isn't free. Change is going to take time. Change is going to take effort. Change is going to take change management. It's going to take leadership and responsibility from yourself, probably as the business owner, to lead that change and be confident in it, to assure your team to go, guys, this will take a while. It's going to feel uncomfortable. No, you're not using a time clock over there now. Yes, you're using it over here. you're all chippies and you're grumbling and that's okay. Or there's subcontractors that are going, oh, we're not logging onto your new system. Every bloody builder asks us to do this, and this. And that change management is not an easy process, but it can be made easier with somebody supporting you through it as well.
Yeah, big time. Well, it's like, trying to build your own house as opposed to getting an expert in.
Do the renos yourself.
Yeah.
Do the extension yourself. Why not?
Oh, man. Nightmare.
Yeah, that trade-off, that opportunity cost to see, hey, look, what would you do if you knew a trade was bleeding you? Like, just taking you for a ride. Sometimes it feels like that. If you're sitting in a system where you know there's leaks, you don't know where they are, it's probably time to have a bit of a discussion around how you want to ramp it up. Yeah. Or the motivator, like I said before, is I'm going away, I want more time, whatever it's going to be. You can access these things from being more efficient in your processes. That's what we're big on. Yeah,
and the world is changing. It's a ever-changing technological conundrum, right? Of back in the day, building was on pen, paper. It moved to Excel spreadsheets, and it moved to online plan sets. It moved to computers being able to support businesses rather than hinder them right at the start there. And it's similar to marketing, like what you guys do. And it's asking yourself, are those systems working for our business, or are we working for them? Yeah. Because if you go into some of those systems where you're using 4 different platforms to try and achieve the same result and it's taking you 10 times longer, but you're scared or you have, sorry, not scared, but you have maybe a disbelief of what that change would look like, then you might not ever make that jump. But if you do choose to make that jump, then you're looking at months of change management. You're looking at months of leading that. But at the other end, you do have to set out what you want to achieve and where you want your business to be. Because without that, then you're going to be in the same position you were in your previous software.
Yeah, it will never change. Again and again. All right, well, let's move on to the impacts, because that's, I mean, like I said, we're seeing firsthand some of the guys that have implemented Buildertrend well with your guys' help. What are some of the things that once it's implemented, guys start to see and start to have aha moments? What does that look like?
Yeah, cool. It happens on different levels, but I think that probably the biggest success is the link between processing all of your payable bills and running a tight budget where you know where all the levers are. That's probably the biggest one. And I say that, it's not loose terms. It's ins and outs on the platform compared to what you estimated the job was going to be, right? So there's goalposts up against what's coming in, what's going out. But the biggest one that you'll gain function in is your labor component. So it's one of the most underestimated areas of the platform to see, well, if I set the labor component up right on Buildertrend, I can see it in real time because the guys are clocking onto the system in real time, getting the cost right so it affects your budgets correctly. So it's actually the right overall cost that it's costing your business, not, what you're selling it for. We see it all the time, or what you think you should have got it for. It's what it is.
How do you know what you're making out of that?
How do you know? So,
and I think that the step before that is, you talked about goalposts, Scott. Goalposts being estimations, being going and getting a quality estimator or quantity surveyor to take off plan sets, and then we're yet to see again a builder that has come along to join with us, that has put all of their estimations onto the platform and got all that high level detail. So builders go out and spend $5,000-$10,000 sometimes on a bill of quantities, right? To go and form up their contract, to see what they're actually going to make, and they go and sign their contract, and then what happens with all that information. So one of the biggest impacts is getting that onto the platform so that they can see where they started, what's happening during the project. So all those goalposts sometimes change because builders have variations. Builders have provisional sums. They've got prime costs. Things change throughout the build. There's unexpected costs that hit you. So how do you know how much profit you make at the end of a job? We don't make profit for builders, but we definitely help them discern where that profit lies and what they cop on the chin and what the client ends up paying in the end as well. So how to work out all of that when it gets onto the platform. Because if you can look at Buildertrend or whatever platform you're looking at right now, and you can see a budget and you can see what it started with, what your revised costs are, or what your moving target is right now in the middle of a job, what you're going to end up with and what your profit can look like,
Yeah.
then it sounds like you've got a perfect system. But if you can't do that, then you do need people to support you to get to that goal, because things changed during builds. So the labor component and the impact that Scott was talking about was having a live feed of what your guys cost you moving into the build, and where to pull the levers. So a lot of the counts that we see would be one carpentry component for the entire build. And if that build is over $1 million, over $2 million, over $3 million, then you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in that component of labor.
Yeah.
But what's it broken down to? How do you know that you've spent too much time on structural carpentry versus the guys supporting in different areas of the build, fixtures and fittings, or roofing, or whatever it's going to be. So one of the big impacts is supporting builders in understanding their budgets throughout the build so they can pull the right levers.
That is very important. Very, very important. Yeah, wow. Okay. And so let's say let's say somebody is listening to this. Can they talk to you if they're not even on Buildertrend? They're just considering using it? Can they reach out for a bit of a chat, or how does that process look? And
Yeah, 100%. So I mentioned before, we've got a demonstration account that we've got on Buildertrend. We can showcase every aspect of the account. That's typically how we meet new builders that are sort of leveling up in that way, or coming across from another platform. Absolutely. And we can answer those detailed questions as micros you want to go, or as macros you want to go. So very happy to do that. And we do that regularly.
Yeah, and I think that builders on any part of their journey can approach us as well. Because if you don't have a project management software, you're probably in for a rude shock of learning a whole lot of things that come with an online platform and app, and there's a lot of change management there. If you're already on a platform, there's lots of different ones out there, and you're looking to change because you hear things that you like from this podcast, or you know that you can't look at budget with confidence and things like that. We love talking to builders that are facing those challenges so that we can see them out the other end.
Okay.
And then the other one, the biggest one that we started on, was builders that are on Buildertrend and have been for a long time.
Yeah.
But again, are they using the surface level of it, or are they in the detail?
Yeah.
Are they across multiple platforms, or have they got it all on one?
I think I'd maybe add to that, guys who are they're on their way to the bin to throw Buildertrend in there. Maybe just have a chat with you.
Yeah.
If you've already, if you've already been investing time and energy this far, maybe it's just a conversation away from getting it tuned.
Yeah, I think it's healthy to know that there's accounts that exist out there now that we could you could say confidently, look, I trust every aspect of that system. I can see it. I can see the dashboard feature.
Yeah.
I can see everything working together. I know where it starts and stops. There's a finite ending. Sometimes when you hear these conversations, it feels like an absolute Mount Everest.
Yeah.
But there's a finite ending to you do get to hand over.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of a job, it finishes.
Yeah.
So
and you should be celebrating that.
100%, we do.
Yeah.
And in the same way, your project management steps are finite. So don't think about all the things that you don't have. You can be in that position where everything has a step, as detailed or as light as you need it to be, to tick it off and keep moving.
And I think what might be unique about Aspire Projects and how we serve that Buildertrend community is it's not tell and do. We don't just give you a pamphlet or a process or something like that and say, go and do that in your business. We get in there, right in there, shoulder to shoulder with you and do it with you. So we pride ourselves on being implementation specialists. That's what what we like to talk about a whole lot, because if you can't actually get it working on the ground with your team, then what's the point of it? So we spend the time with you to make sure it works at the end of it.
Epic. Well, guys, Scott, Jordan, huge thank you for coming and having a chat. And I really, I know a lot of guys listening to this are going to enjoy it. And those listening to this, if you're looking for links, we'll have it down below. Jump on and check these guys out.